For decades, migration was seen as the ultimate path to opportunity. Millions left their homes in search of safety, better jobs, and a brighter future. The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Europe, these destinations became symbols of hope. But something is changing. Across the world, countries are tightening immigration rules, increasing deportations, and making it harder than ever for newcomers to settle. And recent events, from South Africa to the United States, from the United Kingdom to the streets of Belfast, have sparked a difficult question. Is the world quietly shutting its doors on migration? Tonight, we examine the evidence. For years, many developed nations actively encouraged immigration. Their economies needed workers, their populations were aging, businesses demanded talent. But after the pandemic, inflation, housing shortages, and rising living costs changed the political landscape. Across Europe and North America, migration became one of the most controversial issues in politics. Governments faced growing pressure from citizens who felt public services were under strain. Hospitals became overcrowded, housing became unaffordable, schools struggled to cope with growing populations. Whether these problems were caused by immigration or not, migration increasingly became the focus of public debate, and politicians began responding. The United Kingdom has experienced record levels of migration in recent years. At the same time, public concern about border control has intensified. Successive governments introduced stricter visa requirements. Rules for students and family dependents became tougher. Work visa thresholds increased. The message was clear: Britain wanted fewer arrivals. Supporters argued these measures were necessary to reduce pressure on housing and public services. Critics warned they could harm businesses and universities that rely on international workers and students. The debate continues, but one thing is undeniable. The UK's immigration system today is far more restrictive than it was just a few years ago. In Belfast, tensions surrounding immigration have occasionally spilled into public demonstrations and unrest. Incidents involving migrants and asylum seekers have sparked heated political debate and intense media coverage. While the overwhelming majority of migrants contribute peacefully to society, isolated incidents can quickly become symbols in a larger national conversation. Social media often amplifies fear, anger, and misinformation. Communities become divided, politicians face pressure, and migration becomes more than an economic issue. It becomes an emotional one. The events in Belfast reflect a broader trend seen across many Western nations: growing polarization over who should be allowed to enter and stay. The United States has long been one of the world's top destinations for migrants, yet few countries have experienced such intense debates over immigration. In recent years, record numbers of migrants arrived at the southern border. Political leaders from both major parties have faced mounting pressure to address the situation. Border security has become one of the defining political issues in America. New enforcement measures, expanded deportation efforts, stricter asylum procedures, increased surveillance. Regardless of political ideology, the trend is unmistakable. The United States is devoting enormous resources to controlling migration. For many aspiring migrants, the American dream now comes with far greater uncertainty. Migration pressures are not limited to wealthy nations. South Africa faces its own challenges. As one of Africa's largest economies, South Africa attracts migrants from neighboring countries seeking work and opportunity. But economic struggles, unemployment, and inequality have fueled tensions. Some South Africans argue that foreign nationals compete for jobs and public resources. Others point out that migrants contribute significantly to businesses and economic activity. The result is a complicated and often emotional debate, one that mirrors discussions taking place around the world. The question is no longer simply who can enter. The question is who belongs. Several factors are driving this global shift. First, housing shortages. Many cities are struggling to accommodate growing populations. Second, economic uncertainty. When people worry about jobs and wages, immigration often becomes a political flashpoint. Third, security concerns. Governments face increasing pressure to demonstrate control over their borders. And finally, politics. Immigration has become one of the most powerful electoral issues in many democracies. As a result, politicians increasingly promise tighter controls. Whether these policies solve underlying problems remains fiercely debated, but the direction of travel is clear: stricter rules, greater scrutiny, fewer pathways. Does this mean migration is ending? Not at all. Modern economies still need workers. Healthcare systems need nurses. Technology companies need skilled talent. Universities need international students. Migration remains deeply connected to global growth, but the era of relatively open migration pathways may be changing. Future migrants could face more requirements, more competition, and more uncertainty than previous generations. The door may not be closed, but it appears to be getting heavier. Migration has shaped human history for thousands of years. People have always moved in search of safety, freedom, and opportunity. Yet today, many nations appear caught between two competing realities: the need for migration and the desire to control it. The world is not completely shutting its doors, but many of those doors are becoming harder to open. The question is, will this trend continue, or are we witnessing a temporary reaction to extraordinary times? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is the world becoming less welcoming to migrants, or are governments simply responding to legitimate concerns? If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more global analysis. Thanks for watching.